Hello, Leo. I'm Poetic Heretic, and this is your October 2019 Tarot forecast. I'll be doing a Celtic Cross for all Leo people out there, Sun rising and or moon for the month of October 2019. And we can see what additional information we can perhaps gain about your month in addition to the astrology that we've already looked at. So I am for this monthly, since it is Halloween, using the Tarot of Vampires deck by Ian Daniels to give our tarot readings a rather dark, spooky Halloween vibe. So without further ado, let us begin. We would like a Celtic Cross forecast for the sign of Leo for the month of October 2019. Let's see what we get. I'm also going to straighten up here just a bit more. Celtic Cross for Leo for October 2019. We are asking the universe what will be in store for all Leo people in the month of October 2019. In the form of a Celtic Cross. What insight can we gain for all Leonine for the month of October 2019? Not quite it, but almost. There it is. All right, let us burn and observe. The Seven of Grails. The Seven of Knives, doubling down on those sevens right away. Seventh house of partnerships activated. Wow. How might this unfold? I would just say what might happen and how this might unfold at the same time. I don't know, but let us see. The Two of Grails reversed. Fortunately, you just got that for your underlying energy. The Two of Knives, now the second house activated as well, which can talk about sometimes interpersonal one-on-one relationships. The Four of Skulls. Four Skulls. The Six of Skulls reversed. The Ace of Scepters. Ooh. Got that powerful energy of new beginnings active. The Magician. Very nice. The Five of Skulls reversed. And a final outcome card of the Ten of Knives. All right, this does look to be quite interesting. So give me just a moment to take all of this in, and then I will go through card by card and give you my interpretation of your October month. Okay. So this is pretty dynamic spread. And I think I get the gist of what's going on here, but let's dive deeper into it, of course. So you begin the month again with the Seven of Grails card. I'll hold it up real quick for you to see. I'm going to hold up all the cards in this reading as we go through them, just so you can see them, since this is an unusual deck that we're using this month. This card corresponds to the Seven of Cups in a typical tarot deck. And you got it for your current outside influences, representing what is happening with you right at the beginning of the month. So, Seven of Grails or Seven of Cups often represents a time of confusion, of having too many options, of illusion, of things being perhaps shrouded in mystery somewhat. And there's a very, very, very interesting connection coming up more towards the end of the reading regarding all of this. It wraps up and sort of loops around in a very just delightful way. And we'll get into that later, but I'm just saying for now, there's much more to come regarding this apparent confusion or illusion around the beginning of the month. Now, in particular, as I mentioned earlier, especially with this being a 7 and having the 7 of Knives crossing over it to seventh house of partnership and relationships, the confusion for many of you may have to do with partnerships and relationships, may have to do with choosing the right person, or I guess really what I'm seeing is probable here is it looks like either one other person is complicating matters, or maybe for others of you, it's like someone in your environment seems to be having some kind of relationship difficulty, like someone around you is having some relationship difficulty, and you are like somehow getting sucked into it. Now, in what way, I cannot quite say for sure, but something along those lines does seem to be showing up here. However, there's also this element of, in the recent past, you are likely stuck when it comes to another person. So all of this we're going to explore in more detail, but for now, this is what you have for your current outside influences: confusion, illusion, otherworldliness. Now, sometimes this energy, or maybe even a lot of times, can be great for creativity and imagination, creative thinking, that sort of thing. So perhaps it would be wise for many of you to utilize this energy in that particular way if you can. Utilize it for your creativity and your imagination. Now, moving on to the next card. The Seven of Knives for the challenge card. I'll hold it up briefly. This corresponds to the Seven of Swords in a typical tarot deck. And you got it for your challenge this month. What crosses you? What pulls you in another direction? What pushes you into new growth? Well, it's the Seven of Knives. So, Seven of Knives, Seven of Swords, a couple different things here. I often read it as a card indicating individuality, going against the flow, carving out one's own path, doing what's right for you as opposed to what other people are trying to get you to do. And so that may very well be your challenge, or the challenge for many of you this month. However, there's also this idea of getting away with something. And it almost seems like the cards are saying that some of you, or perhaps many of you, may be hoping that you can get away with something this month, but that is not likely to go so well, especially if what you're hoping to get away with involves some kind of secrecy. If it involves secrecy, then I can almost guarantee you that which is hidden is not going to remain hidden. So do beware of that. Now, the only other thing with this card then is, as I mentioned, the double sevens already, this idea of relationships and partnerships being a big part of the challenge this month. But we've already been over that, so there you have it. For the underlying energy, everything forming a foundation for your current situation and your immediate environment, you have the Two of Grails reversed. So I'll show you what it looks like upright real quick. You did get it reversed. This is how it looks properly. And this corresponds to the Two of Cups in a typical tarot deck. So getting this card reversed for the underlying energy, often indicative of someone around you who's having relationship difficulties. Now, in some cases, maybe this energy actually is reflecting you yourself, but typically when it's the underlying energy, it's going to be like, oh, someone around you is feeling a burden when it comes to love, or at least a relationship that's very important to them. It could be a friendship, but it could also, and most often is, a romantic relationship. And or it could be that your general environment itself is of this sort of disappointing, emotionally harsh energy this month, and you may not feel entirely supported by your environment, by the people around you. There may be some discontentment energy. And so that could be part of the challenge this month as well. Now, for the recent past issues you may have had to deal with that have led to your current circumstances, you got the Two of Knives. This corresponds to the Two of Swords in a classic tarot deck. And you got it for the past. So this card can represent a number of things, but in this context, I think it is very likely that it is talking about some kind of a stalemate with another person and that you yourself had that has led to the current sort of confusion and illusion, particularly surrounding relationships, partnerships. Now, the only other possibility that I would say could exist based on the cards that we're getting here is, with this being a 2 and the previous card being a 2 and the second house talking about money and that which we value as well, there could have been some kind of financial stagnation, and maybe there still is. And yeah, especially some of these cards that we're seeing coming up, it's like you're hoping for some kind of like financial recovery or something. That may have been an issue. And if it was, with the cards we're getting, I honestly cannot say for sure if it will be resolved this month. But just know, for those of you, if it's on your mind, it is showing up here. It's just not saying if it will be resolved this month. What we're really getting more information on is those of you who feel like you're dealing with some level of confusion right now. That's what we're getting a rather clear answer on, that we will come to later on in this reading. So, for what you hope to achieve, you got the Four of Skulls. There it is right there. This corresponds to the Four of Pentacles in a classic deck. This represents what you hope to achieve, your highest hope, your highest wish, what you're reaching for this month. And the Four of Skulls is all about security, especially financial security. So there's that potential theme again. It's about securing a stable income many times, but it's, to really just simplify it here, it really is all about security. You're desiring security, especially financial security this month, but maybe even with some of the energy that we just went over, security in relationships as well. And also with it being a 4, especially the idea of stability, because that 7 of Grails energy can be very sort of unstable. And this shows you reaching for stability. Also, the 2 of Grails reversed can be quite unstable. And so you're reaching for that stability. Are you going to get it? Well, we'll get to that. In the near future, representing about the first week or 2 of the month, you got the 6 of Skulls reversed. There it is right there. Oh, I guess I'll show it to you upright, just so you can see what it looks like that. This represents, or this corresponds to the 6 of Pentacles in a classic deck. So very simply, the reversal of this card indicates that at this point in the month, you are still waiting for the payoff and the rewards for the work that you have done. They are not coming yet, or at least they are very unlikely to come yet. Sometimes this can indicate general unfairness. With it being a 6, it can sometimes indicate possible health issues. So if it feels to you like that may be you, like there may be some health issue in early to mid-October, then I would suggest indeed take extra care of your health. I'm not getting any strong indications of any major illnesses or anything like that, but I'll just mention it as a possibility just in case. Pretty much anytime you get a 6 reversed, that's always going to be a possibility. At least, all things being equal. For your attitude or position in the situation, about halfway through the month, you got the Ace of Scepters. Very nice. Hold that up. This corresponds to the Ace of Wands in a classic deck. This is how you're feeling, not necessarily what is manifesting, but how you're feeling. So Ace of Scepters, Ace of Wands is all about powerful new beginnings, concentrated energy, vitality, seizing the day, brainstorming, acting on inspiration, acting on intuition, willpower, taking charge, all of this, powerful fire energy, energy very much of your sign, Leo, with your being a fire sign. This is what you're feeling this month, especially around halfway through the month. You are ready to act. You are ready to do. You're ready to push into new territory and do what it takes to begin whatever it is that you are wanting to begin. So very positive card to get indeed. And in fact, it almost looks like, well, let me just see here. Oh, I see. It almost looks like many of you are likely leaving something behind this month, quite possibly that problematic relationship or whatever, for those of you to whom that applies, and beginning something new. But the beginning something new almost seems like it's going to be catalyzed or triggered by someone or something coming towards you later in the month. most likely later in the month. Some outside force is likely to activate it. And on that note, what we have for the outside force coming in is the Magician, card 1 of the major arcana. And as you might have guessed, based on what I just said, yes, indeed, the Magician card very often talks about new beginnings, openings, initiation, new paths. And so this, again, with it being the outside force coming in, is talking much more about someone or something coming at you that is of the energy of the Magician, a new beginning, a new road to take. Which in my theory here is just pushing you towards the new, although you may not entirely be at the new until perhaps the very end of the month, which we'll come to here in a little bit. But let's look at the other possibilities here. The Magician is also a card that's all about recreating your reality as you see fit, taking what is and sort of the elements around you as they are and using your mind, your intellect to recreate them to be what you want them to be. So, but with this being the outside force coming in, it's quite likely that this is someone coming to you who knows how to do that. Or it could even be a situation presenting itself to you where you then have the opportunity to do that. The Magician is very technical, very scientific, very skillful. Sometimes perhaps this card could talk about the idea of like a challenge or a test coming your way that you will then have to use faculties that are like the Magician to overcome your intellect, your skill, your ability to be clever and logical. But those sort of run the gamut of the possibilities. I think that this card is most likely indicative of some kind of new beginning for many of you, if not the vast majority of you. For your hopes or fears, you got the 5 of Skulls reversed. We do like this card better reversed, generally speaking, but here, this is what it looks like upright. You can see the werewolf or perhaps the dogman on the card, sort of looming over the vampire as if having defeated her or at least severely wounding her. 5 of Skulls corresponds to the 5 of Pentacles in a classic deck, a card of great challenge, especially money problems. But remember, you got it reversed. And it's only in your hopes or fears, so this is another card that's just representing how you're feeling, not necessarily any actual manifested reality. 5 of Skulls reversed is all about the recovery. And falling in your hopes or fears, that tells me that this month many of you are hoping to recover from some kind of financial difficulty, or at the very least hoping to recover from, in a broader sense, a significant challenge that you have been through recently, a significant sort of heavy burden on you, hoping to recover from that and regain your stability. And again, I think for many of you, or at least quite a few of you, that's likely hoping to regain your financial stability, but it could also, remember that 4 of Skulls earlier, be a desire to regain stability in general. So there you have it. Now, for the final outcome card, which in this spread, interestingly enough, tells us so much about how all of this actually ultimately goes. It seems like it's all leading up to this final outcome card. I mean, you could say every reading does, but this reading especially seems to be of this nature. And you got the 10 of Knives. So let me hold this up. This corresponds to the 10 of Swords in a classic tarot deck. And this is how you are ending your month of October. So 10 of Knives, 10 of Swords, not always a negative card. I'll talk about the negative possibilities first, and then we'll go over the positive, which I think are probably more likely based on this context. But anyway, negative possibilities talk about the idea of defeat, of being backstabbed, of total loss, ruin, destruction. Not to scare you at all, but death, but often just a metaphorical death, though who knows. So maybe that's a possibility for some of you, but what's interesting is that when we look at the positive possibilities, interpretations for this card, we have this idea so often of the truth coming out, of shattered illusions, of clarity regained, of getting to the truth, getting to the heart of a matter, no longer being confused or deceived or deluded, seeing reality clearly, the manifestation of truth. And if you will recall earlier in this reading, we had some indications of a lack of clarity, of confusion, of uncertainty, of perhaps not knowing what choice to make and not knowing what is real and that sort of thing. Well, this tells me that by the end of the month, dear Leo, you will know the truth. You will know what is real and what is false. You will know what is true and what is false. You will be able to separate fact from fiction. And so the clarity that you desired will be yours. And it's interesting because it almost seems like, with the Magician card for the outside force coming in, being an air card as well, the element of air, like this card is, that this Magician energy could be part of what reveals the truth to you this month, Leo. It could be someone or something that comes to you that reveals the truth that you seek, the clarity that you seek. So by the end of the month, you will indeed likely know what is true and perhaps also what is false. Now, just for the hell of it, I'm going to draw one more card for you, an 11th card, just to see if we can get any more information. Well, it's the Prince of Scepters. This corresponds, and I'll hold it up, to the King of Wands in a classic deck. And so this is just to give us a little more information, a little more insight into the reading, perhaps. Like what kind of either defeat or revelation of truth might the 10 of Knives final outcome card be talking about? Well, the Prince of Scepters here is interesting because, Prince of Scepters / King of Wands talks about this like very entrepreneurial energy, willpower, action, decisiveness, being willing to act on inspiration or enthusiasm and things of this nature. Now, it may very well be talking about you, Leo, because this is a court card and can talk about a fire sign, with being the Prince of Scepters. Scepters corresponding to wands, corresponding to the element of fire. So my strongest theory here, when we're looking at this for additional information on the 10 of Knives outcome card, is that this is saying that Leo, this might be a silly analogy, but it just came to mind. Leo being a literally feline sign, you could say like the sort of cat that you are. In that sense, you will land on your feet at the end of the month. And so this would tell me, especially in its upright position, that it is far less likely to be a disaster or ruin at the end of the month, and instead some kind of truth that is indeed revealed, illusions shattered, the manifestation of what is true, of what is actually happening, and it causes you to metaphorically land on your feet. So hope that's not a little too silly, but that is what came to mind. In other words, you come out unscathed and better for having had the experience. You come out sophisticated and resolute and knowing what to do and how to handle things, rather than being perhaps a bit confused and uncertain, or maybe in some cases very confused and uncertain at the beginning of the month. So there you go, Leo. Interesting month that you've got going on. I mean, all is well that ends well, I suppose. You do come out winning, essentially. At least looks like the vast majority of you do. So watch out for that confusion and illusion, but know that the truth will be unveiled sooner or later by the end of the month. By Halloween, it will be unveiled. So happy Halloween. Thank you for watching. Feel free to subscribe if you aren't subscribed already, as I do indeed plan on returning with more astrology and tarot related videos and astrology and tarot forecasts. So thanks again for watching, and have a great month.